There is a world within you, deeper than the one you see outside. In that world, your feelings rise like tides, pulling you toward unknown shores. Yet most people live at the mercy of these inner waves, tossed by tempests they never attempt to understand. But if you seek transformation, true transformation, you must first take control of your feelings, not by suppression, but by illumination. To control your feelings is not to become emotionless, but to become emotionally sovereign. Let us now examine 5 keys that open the door to that inner mastery. Your emotions often wear disguises. They surge forth in moments you least expect. An outburst in traffic, a pang of envy at someone else's success, an irrational fear that holds you back. But beneath these emotional reactions lies something older, deeper, and far more powerful, the shadow. The shadow is the part of yourself that you do not see, that you do not wish to see, and that you pretend does not exist. It is composed of the feelings you reject, the traits you deny, the impulses you condemn. It hides in the corners of your psyche, quietly collecting everything you've cast aside. Your anger, your selfishness, your lust, your arrogance. And though you may try to ignore it, the shadow does not vanish, it waits. And when it emerges, it does so with vengeance. Not because it is evil, but because it has been ignored. What you refuse to acknowledge within yourself becomes what controls you from behind the curtain. The more you repress your feelings, the more fiercely they break through, often when your guard is down, often when it costs you most. To truly control your feelings, you must begin not with domination, but with recognition. You must look inward with honesty and courage and say, yes, this too is me. That anger that flares up in petty arguments, it has roots. That jealousy that burns when someone else shines, it speaks of wounds you haven't healed. The shadow is not the enemy, it is your forgotten teacher, but be warned, the process is not comfortable. To face the shadow is to feel exposed, even to yourself. You will see things you don't like. You will feel emotions you thought you had risen above. But do not turn away. In that confrontation lies the first spark of power, the kind of power that does not lash out, but integrates, not the power to control others, but to rule yourself. When you recognize the shadow, you do not become less of who you are, you become whole. And only the whole person, the one who has made peace with their contradictions, can truly control their feelings. Not by bottling them up, not by pretending to be unshakable, but by understanding the origins of every emotion and responding from a place of deep inner truth. The one who has seen their shadow can walk through fire without being burned, because they carry no illusion, no hidden enemy within. What once ruled them in secret now serves them in strength. Emotion, at its core, is not irrational. It is ancient intelligence. It predates language. It lives in the body, in the breath, in the pulse of your being. But most people have forgotten how to read it. They either react impulsively, mistaking emotion for command, or they suppress it entirely, fearing what it might reveal. Yet neither reaction leads to mastery. The path to control begins when you stop treating emotions as enemies or orders and start treating them as messages, coded signals from the depths of your psyche. Your task is to translate them. When an emotion arises, especially a powerful one, it often feels like it demands action. You feel anger and want to shout. You feel fear and want to run. You feel shame and want to disappear. But in that immediacy is a trap. If you act on the emotion without understanding it, you become its servant. You are moved by unseen forces, manipulated by your own unconscious. But if instead you pause and ask, what is this emotion trying to show me? You shift from reaction to reflection. You begin the sacred work of interpretation. Every emotion carries meaning. Anger might be a sign that a boundary has been crossed, or that something you value is being threatened. It might also point to a deeper hurt, a place where you feel unseen or disrespected. Anxiety may not simply be fear of the future, but a signal that your life is out of alignment, that you're living inauthentically, or that you're ignoring an essential truth. Even envy, which is often dismissed as petty or shameful, contains insight. It can reveal to you what you deeply desire but have not yet dared to claim. But this meaning is not always obvious. It requires stillness to uncover. You must be willing to sit with discomfort long enough for it to speak. Often, the surface emotion, what you feel first, is only the beginning. Underneath anger, for instance, you might find grief. Underneath grief, love. Underneath fear, a deep longing for connection or significance. Your task is to peel back the layers without flinching, to dig into the emotion until you touch its root. This process is not analytical, it is intuitive. You don't solve emotions like equations, you listen to them, you ask, when have I felt this before? What part of me is being touched by this feeling? Is it the wounded child, the neglected artist, the repressed warrior? Through this questioning, you connect the present emotion to past experiences, to inner archetypes, to forgotten memories. The emotion becomes a bridge, a guide that leads you deeper into yourself. In doing this, you transform your emotions from chaos into clarity. They no longer disrupt your life, they deepen it. You start to see that every emotional reaction is a call to consciousness. You stop blaming the outside world for your inner storms and start using those storms to map your inner terrain. This is the essence of control, not domination, not repression, but conscious interpretation. You don't stop emotions from arising, you understand them, and in understanding them, you gain choice. You may still feel fear, but now you know what it points to. You may still feel anger, but now you can choose how to respond. You are no longer being dragged through life by the wild horses of your feelings. You are holding the reins, not to whip, not to break, but to guide. Emotions are no longer obstacles to your growth. They become the fuel for it. And perhaps most importantly, this practice of translating emotion into meaning restores dignity to your inner life. You begin to see yourself not as fragile or flawed for feeling deeply, but as richly alive. You learn that your emotions, even the dark and painful ones, are not curses but clues, each one pointing you toward a more whole, more honest, more awakened version of yourself. To truly control your feelings is not merely to understand them or to distance yourself from them. It is to transform them. Emotional mastery does not end in awareness. It culminates in alchemy. Just as ancient alchemists sought to turn lead into gold, so too must the conscious individual learn to transmute raw emotion into purposeful action. This is the final and most powerful stage, not to suppress, not to escape, but to redirect. Your emotions are energy. They arise with force, intensity, and momentum. Left unchecked, this energy can erupt destructively or fester inwardly. But when harnessed, it becomes creative fuel, capable of moving you toward clarity, strength, and meaning. The emotion itself is neutral. It is neither good nor bad. What matters is what you do with it. Take anger, for example. Most people either explode with it or bottle it up, allowing it to poison their inner life. But anger, at its core, is the energy of injustice. It signals that something essential has been violated. Your boundaries, your values, your sense of order. When anger is transmuted, it becomes the force of courage. It becomes the strength to speak truth, to defend the vulnerable, to build a better world. You no longer lash out. You step up. The emotion becomes an engine for principled action. Or consider fear. In its raw form, fear paralyzes. It whispers lies, that you are not enough, that you will fail, that the unknown is to be avoided. But when fear is alchemized, it becomes focus. It becomes preparation. It sharpens your awareness, increases your alertness, and brings your attention to what matters most. Fear, when owned and understood, becomes your compass, not a sign to run away, but a signal of where growth awaits. Even grief, the heaviest of emotions, carries within it the seeds of compassion. Untransformed grief can lead to bitterness or withdrawal. But when grief is embraced and honored, it softens the heart. It teaches tenderness. It connects you to the suffering of others. It deepens your capacity to love, because it reminds you of the cost of that love. Out of sorrow, empathy is born. The alchemy of emotion does not happen by accident. It is an act of will. It requires that you sit with your feelings long enough to understand them, and then ask, How can this energy be used? What can it build? What truth is buried within it? It means no longer seeing your emotions as problems to be fixed, but as tools to be wielded with wisdom. And this transformation always leads to action. Not impulsive reaction, but deliberate movement. Insight alone is not enough. If you understand your fear but do nothing with it, you remain stuck. If you feel your anger but take no stand, you betray your values. True control means channeling emotion into steps, small or large, that align with your higher self. You write the letter, you end the toxic pattern, you begin the project, you tell the truth, you face the mirror. The energy that once threatened to undo you becomes the force that rebuilds you. This is the difference between a life led by emotion and a life powered by emotion. In the first, you are a passenger, taken on wild rides you didn't choose. In the second, you are the driver, harnessing your inner fire to chart a course forward, and what once felt like chaos becomes a source of clarity. What once seemed like a burden becomes a gift. Emotional alchemy is the highest form of self-mastery. It does not deny the depth of feeling. It honors it, refines it, and turns it into purpose. In this process, you discover something astonishing. The emotions you feared most contain the exact energy you need to become who you are meant to be. And so the journey comes full circle, not toward escape from emotion, but integration. You do not conquer your feelings by force. You guide them, you work with them, you allow them to shape you, not into a servant of impulse, but into a conscious creator. Would you like me to compile the entire speech into one document or offer visual or audio content ideas next? The inner world is not a prison, it is a kingdom. Feelings are not your rulers, they are messengers. And you are not a victim, you are the alchemist. Do not run from your feelings, illuminate them, translate them, harness them. For the one who controls his inner world becomes a master of the outer one. The work is not easy, but it is sacred.